This trail just suddenly started getting really narrow. I heard something back there. Hold on a second. Hello? Beautiful places. That's what I meant to say. Was it really that hard? I'm gonna tear something. I did it. I'm officially back. This is pretty much where I left off because I caught the bus like right up there. I'm going back up now to finish what I started. Now, here is the plan. I'm gonna go back up to this road, leads up and ends at the Leif Erickson Drive, where I, pretty much finished my journey and was running the last, better part of a mile and a half incoherently. All I was thinking was, I don't want to wait for a bus. I don't want to wait. I have to catch one. I have to make it happen. And I was just like, I remember running, I was just like, it was sad. I mean, I was fine. Like, when I stopped, I pulled my phone out. I was like, hey, I'm down here now. But anyway, so the plan is to go back up the Leif Erickson Drive. I keep calling it the Leif Erickson Drive. Up Leif Erickson Drive, just a little ways, so I can backtrack a little bit and then get back to the Wildwood Trail and finish what I started. We're approaching, I'm passing it by because I'm backtracking, but we are approaching Lower Macleay Park, which I talked about ceaselessly. When are we going to get to Lower Macleay Park? When are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? Well, this is Lower Macleay Park down here, and it looks like there's a lot of chaos going on down there, a lot of construction. But anyway, this is the park. Goes under the bridge and kind of starts over there. This is where I kept saying I was going to get to when I'd probably have to stop, and I didn't even come close. But when I get on the Wildwood Trail, it's going to wrap around, and I'm going to actually connect with this trail a little further down. So I'm backtracking up over here and then kind of weaving my way down to over there, and then I just continue south in that direction. Unlike last time, it's a little bit uphill. So quite a few lessons learned from my first stretch walk in this path. First of all is, no matter how you feel, no matter how much you think you know something, if you're gonna walk a trail or walk an area that you never walked before, get a good solid feel for how long it is. I was also jumped, shoved right into the ground by someone during what was essentially one of the most desolate stretches of the trail. I hadn't seen anybody for like a half hour. So, no matter how comfortable you feel that you might be all alone somewhere, keep your wits about you. Could be someone in those bushes, could be someone in these bushes. You don't know. Don't be paranoid, just be aware of your surroundings. Because granted, I absolutely did not hear this person coming at all with how quiet it was, but still, you know, what if that guy had worse intentions, you know? Here's where I want to be. Branching off, going up the Alder Trail. There's a little plaque here in the brush. Let's see. The Alder Trail, dedicated 1980. Built by hand with Department of Labor funds in joint cooperation with the City of Portland Park Bureau. Commissioner in charge, Mildred Schwab. I actually recognize that name. I don't know why I wouldn't. City of Portland Human Resources Bureau Commissioner. So it's pretty much, yeah, it's like a dedication plaque for... So does that mean the trail was made in 1980? Because that means this is a relatively new trail. I thought that was going to be something like a little bit older, like, oh, this trail is the oldest trail in Forest Park. It's even older than the stupid Leif Erickson Drive. Think you're so special just because you're wide and partially paved. Bee just got in my face. Oh boy, so the uphill climb begins. Need me rocket fuel to propel me into the 22nd century. White gummy bear. I always evaded that because that sounded just frightening for an energy drink flavor. But there's a monster flavor. I hate that I'm such an energy drink connoisseur. But there's one. I forget what it is. It's one of those ones that's in kind of an orangey, pinkish orangey can, and it tastes kind of gummy bearish, and it was actually pretty good. So I'm like, maybe this will taste the same. I don't know. Right there. Well, hello, arch nemesis. Okay, so a little ways back this way is where I branched off, went down to Leif Erickson because I just couldn't go anymore, and like I would have been stranded here. Like by the time I reached this point, it probably would have been like 7 o'clock at night at least, and I would have been still so far from getting out of here. So I'm picking up a little ways further down, continuing this way. Just past a couple of older codgers. Oh, pretty much since I've gotten out here, pretty much everybody who's walked by me, you know, that are in groups, they're just talking about their jobs. I'm like, oh, be free of your workplace. You're in one of the most beautiful places you can find in the Portland metropolitan area. Like, leave your job at your desk or whatever it would be and just feel this. That's why this is here. This isn't here. So, I mean, if you've got a big thing to do for work and you're stressed and you need to deflate, then yeah, you can come out here. That's work related. But even then, the idea is to come out here and clear your mind. Clear your mind, people. I know some people struggle with that, you know, shutting that down. I do sometimes. I'm just saying, though. I mean, look at everything around me. Stop talking about your accounts and your projections, and, you know, if you gotta do that a little bit, like, sit down and talk it over and then walk and just be one. This is about the most, like, hippie-ish I get. Just be one with the nature, man. Love yourself. It's too nice out here to worry. So after the fiasco of my first trip, one thing I'm not going to do is make any projections about how long it's going to take to get from where I'm at now to the vicinity of Lower Macleay Park, specifically kind of the Witch's Castle area. And I mean, if you live in Portland, you know what the Witch's Castle is. If you're not from around here, you may not. It's a prime. It's a little touristy, like, not like, you know, the way that, like, Voodoo Donuts might be, which, screw them right now, by the way, and their unethical practices, but that's a video for another day. But, you know, if you're planning a trip to Portland, and it's like, oh, you look at those lists, like, what are 20 cool things to see while you're in Portland? Usually the Witch's Castle always pops up on that list, and the Witch's Castle is where this trail, the Wildwood, combines with the trail that starts at Lower Macleay Park and goes this way as well. And that's when we'll start seeing more people, but that could be 20 minutes from now, that could be an hour from now. Again, I'm not making any projections. I think it's because, yeah, I'm along 53rd Drive, so we're by the street. That's why it kind of opened up. So I gotta get from here all through here, and then, yeah, eventually come out. I don't know, somewhere around here is where I want to be eventually. So, actually, yeah, a little bit more of a walk. But yeah, 53rd, and there's another trail. The Keel. I'm guessing that's Keel. Trail bobs off. Oh, wow, that looks like murder on my toenail. Hoot. Hoot. 99% of Forest Park is forested. Well, I would hope so, with a name like that, and I believe it. Forest canopy is made up of 25% coniferous, 75% mixed coniferous deciduous trees. You have to know the past to understand the present. Carl Sagan. I also love these little, because I saw one of these when I started along the Wildwood Trail. They kind of show the progression, the age of the trees, the forestation, and I spilled some of that on me, but I should have put, look at this slob. That was very sad. I'm 35 years old and I'm still spilling my drink on myself. Okay. So I think, yeah, we kind of, you know, straddle, weave back and forth the way that the Wildwood does, but yeah, we still got a bit of a walk before we reach Lower Macleay, and my hope is between here and there it's going to stay more or less level. So while I'm out here alone and we're all feeling oh so safe, behooves me to once again venture into the darkness bin is what I was gonna say. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean, but I talked about, you know, some darker stuff when I was vlogging the other day, and there's going to be stuff to discuss here. As for, again, I talked about how I genuinely think he's out here. That's what I've always thought from day one, so then I started rambling about that, and then that transitioned into, like, there could be, like, so many bodies in this park. Probably not, but I'm sure there's at least, one or two people that have gone missing who have never been found, whose bodies are probably out here somewhere. I mean, if this video doesn't show you how insanely massive this park is, then I don't know what will. I started to say Kyron Horman, and then a guy walked by me, and I was just like, I don't know, I felt weird about being like, guy come toward me, I'm like, Kyron Horman! But I talked about that. But back in 1999, there was a guy named Todd Allen Reed who killed 3 homeless women and left their bodies out here in Forest Park, and they were eventually found, and he was busted, and it was another classic example of, here's someone that showed a lot of early signs of a troubled future as a potentially dangerous person. And according to Wikipedia, which take with a grain of salt, he was registered as like a sex offender by the age of 14. That's a bad sign. But there's at least 2 other situations, I guess I could say, that Todd Allen Reed has been considered as possibly being the killer of 2 teenage girls that vanished from Gresham. Now, granted, this was many years before when these bodies were found in 1999, but obviously that doesn't mean he couldn't have been responsible. And one of my Patreon supporters, hey, how you doing? We encountered while I was working podium at work, and you mentioned to me one of these cases, and pulled up Todd Allen Reed, and I was like, oh yeah, the Forest Park guy. But I was like, well, wait a minute, but he killed like homeless women that were of age. But it's that Todd Allen Reed is strongly considered as a likely suspect in those cases. Oh, and here's where the Dogwood Trail comes in if I would have gone up the Dogwood. But I'm sticking to my... So I assume, yeah, Dogwood goes this way, Forest Park this way. Okay. I just don't want to get lost, because that happened to me in high school. I got lost on this trail for like 2 hours, and I was like, they're going to leave without me. Did I tell that story? No, I didn't. Whatever, I'll wait till I get to where that happened before diving into that, even though I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Just want to make sure I don't screw up. This trail is so long. But yeah, so Todd Allen Reed was this guy that he ditched 3 victims that we know of out here. Got busted, went away for that, and possibly 2 more victims that he may have been responsible for years before that. And I mean, honestly, when we're talking serial killers, who knows how many? I think if there's like serial killers that didn't kill super frequently and only had 2 or 3 victims that are known of, maybe they really only had 2 or 3, but when you've killed multiple women in short succession, I don't know, I'm saying women, multiple people, even though women are more often serial killer victims than men, if it's like, we know so-and-so killed 5 women, for example, between like April 1995 and July 1995. If that's all you know about, but that many victims happened before you say caught the perpetrator, like there were probably more that haven't been found. Probably. Not always. That's not the only situation regarding murder that I'll be discussing on this trek. Actually, I'm not too far away from Holman Road, which is a crossing path. I think it might have been maybe a fire lane, or it may have once been a fire lane. But yeah, I'll actually be hitting that before Lower Macleay Park, so don't worry, that's forthcoming. And I always remembered, actually, when I was on the bus crossing the river into downtown, there's an old brick building kind of down there with all of the old warehouses and whatnot on the east side of the river, just across from downtown Portland. And one of them is, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the name right, but Rinella. It's like Rinella, Renelia, maybe, produce. And I always remember hearing whisperings that like a serial killer had worked there. And I know like my girlfriend's family went to a church in Portland that actually there's like a Renelia Hall there in relation to that family. And I remember them saying something about how like, yeah, their produce place, they had somebody who worked there who was like a serial killer. Well, Todd Allen Reed, unless there was another one, Todd Allen Reed worked for them. So Todd Allen Reed was that serial killer in question, as I later found out. So I remember just hearing whisperings of that, but we can consider that mystery solved. Who was that produce guy that was also a serial killer? We've come upon a marker. I'm guessing that means 8¼ miles till the end of the Wildwood Trail, because there's definitely more than 8¼ miles this way. So I probably have that much distance to go from here, which actually that doesn't sound bad considering what I went through last time. Man, I wish something of historic significance happened like right here. Maybe something did, but I don't know. Because I could literally prop you up like so. Be like, hey, I got some history for you right here. But I ain't got no history. So, it's just kind of a wasted opportunity. Oh boy, we got like a 5-way trail. Oh, never mind, there's no trail here. So this is the Wildwood, which if I really wanted to cheat, Wild Cherry Trail starts like right at the start of Leif Erickson, which is down there somewhere. Kind of went up here and just meandered back. So if I really wanted to cheat, I could have come this way and not backtracked so much, but I wanted to cover as much of this demon trail as possible. So, here we are. Another crossing. Or I guess this is the start of another path. And a place to sit. Ah, the Birch Trail. I knew ye well. I started here, I'm actually a little over, from when I first got back on, this is the right way, right? Yeah, because the Wildwood Trail thing is gone, but the birch that's pointing up that way. But yeah, I'm already about, from when I first got back onto the Wildwood Trail, not trailhead, but on the Wildwood Trail. From that point to here, I'm about halfway to, or maybe a little bit more, to where I connect with the little Lower Macleay Park trail, and stuff starts getting real nuts. There's people out here. People like in their 60s, 70s. I just passed a guy going down the trail with a walking cane. Like he had to have a cane to make the trek. And I'm like, they have so far to go this way or that way. I feel like such a sissy watching people out here with support. There's one guy that had like the support things, like he was gonna go skiing. Guy just passed me with a cane who had to at least be 70 minimum. And he's just like, morning, have a nice day. And here I am, I'm like, ugh, still got like 7 miles, man. can already tell I'm getting kind of closer to Lower Macleay Park. In the last like 5 minutes, I've gone from the rare occasional person passing me to like, I passed like 10 people. So slowly you're starting to see more people as we get closer to a park space, or where people will park their cars and start walking. Because obviously, most people that are going to go out and exercise, they'll do a few miles. Whereas I'm doing this freakishly long trek, so pretty much most of this I've been completely by myself. Or at least so I thought. Oh, there we go. Oh, first contact. Oh, you son of a bitch. I was doing so good. That one wasn't bad. But I just had my first... I made it like 5-6 miles. But I just bumped... And literally, it looked like there was nothing there. But I just bumped my toe on something. It's not bad, though. You gotta be careful. After you bang the toe the first time, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to do it over and over again. Okay. It's a little interesting. I don't know if they showed up well on my camera. Someone was just like, came around a corner, someone was standing there. The moment they saw me, they were just like evading me in every sense. It went up what, I don't know, if it was a trail, it was really thin. Kind of just started zigzagging up the side of the hill, which I mean is mostly just this stuff. It's not exactly anywhere to go. So I mean, I can understand you being caught off guard by someone approaching, but I don't know, the body language was like they were either like a really bad lookout for someone, or like they had just killed somebody and they're just standing there like, I'm chill, there comes somebody, I'm getting out of here. The Aspen Trail, which I could have come up if I really wanted to avoid a lot of the Wildwood, because Thurman Street ends at Leif Erickson, but right before you get to where Thurman becomes Leif Erickson Drive and becomes a walking path, the last road to hit Thurman is Aspen. And if you turn off Thurman and go a little down Aspen, this trail branches off there. So if I wanted to get here a lot quicker, I could have come up this way. But there's already like, you know, several miles of this trail that I've missed, either out of, well, pretty much entirely out of necessity. So I wanted to get, you know, as much of this trail as I could without frying my body and soul out like I did the other day. I think just a little around the corner here is Holman Lane, which of course I briefly mentioned to you earlier in terms of, I don't even remember if I got to the point. I just started talking about Holman Lane. Did I ever mention what Holman Lane's purpose was? I started talking about how it was a fire lane, but I think I trailed off there. Well, whatever, we're almost there. When I get to Holman Lane, I'll explain to you the significance of that. And on that note, switched back to my primary iPhone, which was the whole plan. I figured while I'm doing a lot of just general trail walking, The GoPro is good. It gets a lot of wide shots, landscaping views. Oh God, what is that light coming from that I just have not seen since I've been in here? So I want to switch over to this once I started getting closer to actually like seeing more stuff and stopping a little bit more to explain things that, you know, historical things, other than the few things I mentioned at this point, in relation, or at least close proximity to this particular trail. And with Holman Lane right around the corner, this is as good a time as any. Bust the phone out, start transitioning this trek. Coming up on some trail here. I'm wondering if this is Holman. So I know it's right in this vicinity. I even remember going up this once and seeing that it passed the Wildwood Trail and being like, well, hot dog. What is this? The devil is this? What are you? Oh, just no bikes, good dogs. All right, so Wildwood Trail keeps going that way. Yes, we've arrived at the intersection of the Wildwood Trail and Holman Lane. So Holman Lane comes up from Willamette Heights, continues going off that way. And that's the way that is historically significant to us, kind of. Before then, I just remembered where specifically Holman Trail comes out, and it's just a little ways this way. Yeah, this is worth it. Just gonna briefly deviate from the route along the Wildwood, just a little bit through here. A little bit of a surprise. I mean, if you know about this, well, obviously if you know about anything, it's not a surprise, but there's just a little something that I know is right around the corner from the trailhead here. Yeah, literally right around the corner. Pardon me, I'm stumbling along here. This all opens up a little bit. Yeah, I'm like maybe 500 feet down from the Wildwood Trail. Yeah, because the start of the Holman Trailhead is right here, and it literally just comes in at a bunch of houses, which actually, the one in question, that is, I don't know, that might be it. Be interesting if I could get a, I don't know, I don't quite think so. I can't get a good view anyway. Anyway, I'm just gonna go through here, go down and around real quick. So looks like there's a little stretch of, I think it's Quimby Street up here, which Ramona Quimby from the kids books, the Ramona kids books, Ramona Quimby. There's a Ramona Street and a Quimby Street. But anyway, before I get around the corner, which I'm assuming there's probably, I just would assume they probably have a lot of like, don't get close to the house signs. But any of you that are fans of the Twilight franchise, or even if you're not, or just fans of film, I can see that there's a sign here that says no trespassing. So I don't even know if I'm gonna get a good look at it. But the bougie home is, yeah, see, it says, I can't even show it to you. It says no public access, no photography, even though the mail lady's up there. You can't see it from here. I understand. I'm sure people are coming up here and harass it. It's like bothering them all the time. Dang it. Right up, see where that mail woman is going? Like right in front of her around the corner is where the home that the Cullens use, the Cullen home that you see in the film. So I forget which one, but one of them is like, they're worried about people coming in out of the woods. Well, those woods are right over here in Forest Park. But yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. So apologies, I'll stick like a picture in here of like the house. Anyway, it's right up around the corner. So no shocker. I kind of half expected something like that to happen. So another kind of wah, wah, wah moment in this vlog, and there's been a succession of them. Man, that male woman was so lucky. She's like the only person who doesn't live down that street that actually would have a reason to go in there. And I could see she was taking pictures of it. I'm like, that's not fair. What? You work for the Postal Service, you get to break all the rules, and I have to climb this damn hill for no reason. It's not that far to go. But anyway, it's, you know, it's like right over these houses, down that little dead end of Quimby Street. Oh my God, this is very steep. I don't like it. Anyway, back to the Wildwood. And in particular, for the next thing, I'm finally going to explain the significance of Holman Lane. Oh my God, if I don't die first. Oh, I made it. Whew. So yeah, here's Holman Lane starting. And so today you can go straight up Holman Lane and it takes you all the way to 53rd Drive, which borders this area, kind of the more southern part of Forest Park, on its west side. I'm not going up there because it's straight uphill. I did it once and it was horrible. And it doesn't have any substance to today's video, but because I'm passing so close, I have to discuss it. So Holman Lane, you know, today you can go all the way through, and I want to, but it's all just hiking. You can't, you know, drive your vehicles through here or anything. But back in 1960, the more western half of Holman Lane, which went under a different name, I can't remember what it was called, was you could actually like go down there with your vehicles. And because part of this stretch was accessible further up and around the other side, a lot of young people would use that little dead-end stretch as kind of a lover's lane. So it made perfect sense for the stretch up there to be used as a lover's lane, because I mean, it's 2021. A lot more people, listen how quiet it is. And it was a dead-end road, and it was on the other side of the park, which is even more quiet and semi-rural. So that and kind of surrounding little offshoots were very frequent spots for, you know, people in their late teens, early 20s to go and have some privacy, so to speak, which set the stage for the one of Portland's most infamous unsolved murder cases, which I did a like a 84 minute film on it back in 2018 on my channel here, Murder in Forest Park, that tells that story of Larry Payton and I forget whether it's Barbara or Beverly. I think it's Beverly. Her name was Beverly Allen. And they went down the street. Again, it's way up there. Too much climbing for me to do, considering I've got a lot more climbing to do this way. And so I believe it was November 26th, 1960. And Larry and Beverly, I feel really dumb for forgetting exactly, Payton and Allen, they had a little run-in with some local guys. Larry Payton was kind of known as being a bit of a hothead, and it was thought that maybe those guys kind of chased them up into this area and killed them, because the day after they came out here to have some private time, Larry Payton was found brutally murdered, just slumped in the front seat of his car that was still up there. And Allen was missing, and she was found roughly like 40 miles west of Portland along Highway 26, kind of heading off to the coast. And she had there was like some green rope that was in the vicinity of her body that was also found at the crime scene. So there was like a connection there. And several years later, these group of young toughs that were supposedly had an encounter, altercation with Larry Payton, were eventually brought to trial. And I think that was great. I knew exactly what he was singing. He had earbuds in, so he wasn't having like a freak out. Talk about something so sad and then that happens. I just hear him, the guy yells, "What more in the name of love?" Which is from a U2 song, Pride, in the name of love. I hear him yelling more. I just, you hear someone just randomly yelling anywhere around Portland and you immediately think, oh God, this guy's nuts. But that guy was just getting turned. Anyway, so several years down the road, these 3 guys get busted. I don't remember if all 3 were found guilty. I want to say one of them wasn't. I haven't looked at the information in a long time, but I mean, even the ones that were found guilty were let go a couple of years later. Like, everybody knew this trial was a farce and that it was very unlikely that these guys were the ones responsible. But years had gone by and there was no resolution, and the police had a lot of pressure on them, and that can lead law enforcement to just bust whoever's convenient and hope you get a conviction. A lot of people think, I just don't, I'm not saying it's impossible by any stretch of the imagination, I just don't think it was him. There's a pretty well-known serial killer, Edward Edwards, who is definitively known to have killed, I think, like 5 people. But there's been this kind of ongoing thing that this guy was actually responsible for this succession of infamous crimes going all the way back to the lipstick killer and the Black Dahlia murders, which the claim is that he was responsible for those, even though he would have been like 13 at the time. And it's said that he was responsible for killing Sam Shepard's wife in Cleveland, which The Fugitive, that's based on that. Like, if you've seen the movie, the reason Harrison Ford is a doctor in that movie is because Sam Shepard was a doctor and his wife was found dead. And yeah, there's a lot of elements of that in that movie, but and it's said that, like, he may have killed Martha Moxley. He killed John Benet Ramsey. He was even responsible for the murders at Stephen Avery of Making a Murderer fame, I guess. Like, he was responsible for all these murders. And he was in Portland for a brief time when Larry, Peyton, and Beverly Allen were killed. And him and a friend actually came up to the crime scene afterwards, by his words, to just kind of check it out after hearing about it. So that's led a lot of people to think he was responsible for that. I just don't think he was. There was like kind of a sketchy truck driver. I think, yeah, he was like a long haul trucker who lived right down the hill from where they were found. And apparently this guy was a very hostile, aggressive guy. He would threaten people who came down this road, you know, all these young ruffians making a bunch of noise and bothering him. And he claimed to have an alibi. He essentially had a couple of receipts that, like, prove that when the murders happened, he was actually on a long, you know, route. Like, he was off in Eastern Oregon. But it's like, do you have any idea how easy receipts were to fake back then? He could have literally used some old receipts he had. You know, most of them, they would write in pencil on them. You can erase something and put new stuff on there. A lot of them weren't dated. So this guy's alibi was real shaky, and he lived right there. And, you know, he was known for being kind of violent and hostile. And I'm not saying I think absolutely he was responsible, but I think from the suspects we know, I think he's probably the best one right now. Again, it could have been any random person that just knew that this up there on the other side was a lover's lane kind of area. And they could have, you know, been looking for trouble, creating trouble, and, you know, waited for, you know, just a car with some people in it to go by and nobody else is around, and you can go and do whatever you want to these people. I'm assuming that's not the Wildwood Trail. That's where the U2 guy was going. But yeah, so that happened right up on the up over the ridge here of Holman Lane, which I walked up in 2018 because I wanted to go to the site, approximate location where the murders happened. So I had to tough that and go up there. So that's another piece of infamous Forest Park murder lore. I mean, the most famous form of criminal activity to happen in Forest Park. Back in 1960, it's been over 60 years, and that case has still not been solved. And alas, we couldn't see the Cullen home as well, but it's worth a shot. Anyway, having just gone through all that, I know we're getting really close to Macleay Park, or at least where the trail hooks into the park, or the trail that comes from that park. So finally, all this ways into this series, I can finally say we're almost to Lower, gotta give it the right name, Lower Macleay Park. I swear to God. Yeah, I can hear people way down there. Those are people walking along the trail from Lower Macleay Park, which this one runs into, so I know I'm getting close. The voices are getting louder. So I mean, since it's such a famous Portland landmark, I do want to stop, pay my respects at the Witch's Castle. The only issue is there's just always so many people there. Every so often, you'll get like a 1 or 2 minute gap. And there's, you know, people stop and they let their kids climb on it. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to vlog it if people's kids are going to be in there for obvious reasons. So my hope is maybe I'll get lucky. I mean, it is like, what, like 1:30 in the afternoon on a fairly nice day. I'm thinking the odds are pretty long that there's not going to be people there continuously, but I'm hopeful. I can actually see the park, the trail from Lower Macleay Park. So yeah, so there's the Lower Macleay. I'm finally about to make it to this trail that I've been saying for like 3 videos I'm gonna make it to. Finally, Lower Macleay Trail, we make it, and I jammed my toe again. Oh, it's not that bad. I say angrily. Yeah, there's some people here, but they look like adults. Might as well go in here and scare the crap out of myself. Oh, it smells nice and moist in here. But it's obviously a prime spot for graffiti, and I think this might have, I know this place, one of its original purposes was its function kind of like a ranger station, but it was also a public restroom at one time, so I'm wondering if this area may have been a restroom. It's pretty small, but if not, good, it's mostly adults here right now. But yeah, this is the Witch's Castle, as it's affectionately known. Crumbling, but it's a stone structure, so it's still holding firm, and it's kind of left to its own devices for a very long time. Let's step inside, huh? Guessing there used to be probably a big window here. Something. This side's a little bit more crumbled. There was probably a window like this up there, considering this is just kind of a mirror image of this. And here's the other entry. Staircase wraps around here. Now, this crumbling yet extremely popular structure to come see anytime somebody comes through Forest Park, they pretty much want to make it to here at some point or another to see the witch's castle. But this place has still to this day, I've seen people like post pictures of this and say that this was the home of the Balch family, which were kind of early Portland area settlers. Danford Balch was the head of the household. And people will sell pictures and stuff and say that this is the crumbling remains of their home to give it more historical significance, because Danford Balch is actually pretty significant to Super Oregon and Portland history. This is not the Balch home. The Balch, Danford Balch owned a lot of this, a lot of Forest Park he owned, and it was fairly coveted land. Like, this guy was doing okay for himself. You think they would have been living in something this tiny? I mean, maybe they would have been, but also, like, no, this structure was built decades and decades after Danford Balch was gone. And now he had a daughter, 15-year-old daughter named Anna. This is in 1858, so Portland is a relatively new town. There's not a lot of people living here, especially out here. There's just anybody who owned land out here. There's just a handful of people. So Danford Balch lived out here with his wife, and they had several children, one of whom was Anna Balch, 15 years old. They had neighbor property owners. They were the Stump family. And Mortimer Stump, one of the kids from that family, wanted to marry Anna and went to Danford Balch personally, asking him if he could have his daughter's hand. And Danford Balch lost it, ran him off, said, "You disgusting piece of filth, get off my land. How dare you think you have the right to ask for my daughter's hand?" But nevertheless, shortly afterwards, Anna and Mortimer kind of eloped and got married anyway. And Danford was utterly crushed by this. He did writings at this time, so you can actually read what he had wrote during this time. And it's interesting, at least in one piece of documentation, one historian has actually looked at his writings and considered, and this wouldn't be that far off for the time because this kind of stuff happened, it's theorized that possibly Danford Balch and his daughter Anna maybe had a, I don't want to say romantic relationship, but they had something like that. And I guess it's known that when Danford married his wife, she already had 2 kids, so maybe Anna was one of those kids. So maybe she was a stepdaughter to Danford. Doesn't make it any better. I'm just saying, I don't know if they were absolutely 100% biologically related. And it's been suggested that because looking at his writings about Anna leaving and marrying Mortimer Stump, it's been theorized that the writings he did didn't come off so much the writings of a father despondent over losing his daughter to someone that he thought was like inferior to them or whatever, but they seem more like the writings of like a scorned lover whose lover had just left him for somebody else. So that's definitely an interesting theory, and trust me, there's plenty of, middle-aged men. A lot of men in their 30s and 40s would marry teenage girls and just, do whatever they wanted. So anyway, Danford goes and meets with the Stumps, and they have it out. They have this big, messy argument. Danford is pissed. Danford is also extreme alcoholic, drinks to the point of blacking out with great regularity. He comes home, gets blasted drunk, picks up his shotgun, goes down and encounters Mortimer Stump, and a bunch of people are around on the Stark Street Ferry, which would cross the Willamette River from downtown. We're kind of right in the middle of downtown, cross the Willamette River back and forth because there weren't any bridges back then, so you had to take the ferry to cross the river. And in front of all these people, and apparently not aware of what he had done, because later on at trial, he seemed aghast that all these witnesses had seen him do this, pulled out his shotgun and shot Mortimer Stump dead in front of all these people. So the acts of an enraged, disgusted father or a scorned, creepy lover? It's hard to say for certain, but it's disturbing nonetheless. And, it was pretty easy. There was no way Danford Balch, there were so many witnesses. There was no way, even though he said, he was too drunk to remember doing any of it, he wasn't going to get away with this. And he was the city of Portland's first hanging,
execution by hanging, which happened in early 1859, was when that happened. And it's kind of, you know, it's kind of not necessarily Portland's first murder, but Portland's first, like, really notorious murder that's kind of stood the test of time, historically speaking. You know, historians still talk about that case. And they owned a lot of this land. They owned this land that, you know, the Witch's Castle is at today. But no, this was not, was I saying Stump? Because I meant Danford Balch, obviously. This was the land that was owned by Danford Balch. And this was not their home. Not even close. And there's even, there's a marker here that says, like, Balch home site. And it's supposedly along the Wildwood Trail. I'm not sure where it's at, so I hope I don't miss it. But I've seen pictures of the marker, but I've never seen an explanation as to exactly where that marker is. But I'm thinking it's probably not too far from here. Time to keep on. Oh, don't touch me, bastard. I also noticed a little downfield, there's like this, I don't know what this is, but I'm wondering if it was maybe in relation to the Witch's Castle and its uses. I mean, it was obviously something, and it's right downstream from here. So anyway, this is the iconic Witch's Castle. You've seen it? And we continue on, and I'm looking. Is this the, no, that's a fence post. I, for some reason, thought that was a sign. And I thought, I'm still looking for that Balch home site marker, which, by the way, you can hear a creek through here. If you listen close enough, we're going to be straddling it for a while. That creek is called Balch Creek, for obvious reasons. Oh. You dare me to cross it? Not in a million years. I'm very warm. I'm gonna probably give me some more water. Stay hydrated, everybody. But I'm very warm. And the idea of touching some soft, cool water sounds amazing. Oh boy, I see the bridge. It's obstructed in the foliage here, but I know for a fact, yeah, there it is, you're starting to see it. Once you cross that bridge and you start wrapping this way, oh boy, that's when the hill climbing starts. I think I'll be okay though. Mainly because I remember I came out here, me and my girlfriend walked this stretch all the way up to Pittock Mansion, like we're about to do now. And I was really out of shape, hadn't been exercising much, hadn't been vlogging, so not really being physically active outside of work. I remember actually not having too difficult of a time. Ooh, it's kind of cool. wonder what that was. I'm curious. I don't really know. Like there's this old fencing here on both sides, but that in particular, I don't know. Maybe like a block to only let so much water in? I don't know. I'll look it up. And if I can't figure it out, I'm sure one of you Portlandites, other fellow amateur historians, or just people that know flowing water stuff, can tell me what the heck that thing was. This kind of reminds me of the trail that leads up to the top of Multnomah Falls that I walked up with my girlfriend and friends. We made it. It was exhausting, but pretty easy coming back down. But yeah, you can see climbing real quick. But yeah, it was just one of these switchback trails, just up, 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 up. One of the few parts of the trip that was actually quicker than expected. Yeah, oh, sit down space. They only refer to it as Stonehouse. Portland Audubon. That way. What about going that way? So, this, where you hear the traffic from, Cornell Road, which is one of few roads up here that actually cuts through the West Hills, coming out of the general downtown Portland area, kind of north, more coming out of the Pearl, but one of the only roads in this area without having to go to the northern edge of Forest Park, where you can just cut right through the West Hills and get to the other side to like Beaverton and all that. Closer stuff. It's the Wildwood. Keeps going that way. Upper Macleay. No longer lower. Oh, here we go. Small beginning of a big idea. In 1897, Donald Macleay donated 105 acres of forest land to the city of Portland for a park. Macleay Park became the nucleus from which Forest Park would later develop. In 1948, a group of civic and conservation organizations proposed 6,000-acre forested park in the West Hills. With help from the city, citizens alike, Forest Park has grown to over 5,000 acres, and people say this park isn't big enough. Continuing around these cars. So I can tell you, one time cross country we came out, the first time I'd ever heard of the Wildwood Trail was, I believe it was summer before my junior year. And we went, they were like, we're gonna go up here and run the Wildwood Trail. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. Well, I don't think, we didn't come in here. It wasn't this big of a space. I know we eventually hit the Wildwood Trail, but I don't think we started on it because none of this looks like how I remember the area we stopped at being. So my guess is we may have been a little further up Cornell, ran some trails that ran into, but there's not really any trails off that way that run into the Wildwood. So I really don't know for certain exactly where we were, but we came here, I ran. It's really good for running, even with the hills, because you're at a high elevation. That one time that I ran here for cross-country practice, I think I probably had more energy than I've ever had in my life. I was a horrible cross-country runner, but the problem was I didn't know this area. So I just ran on forever and then kind of started turning to come back, and I got lost, meandering. I ended up like, I was on like a trail that literally led to like some abandoned, it looked abandoned, maybe it wasn't, like farm space. There was like an old beat up truck and like a barn thing there. I don't know, it was creepy. So I was like, well, I don't remember seeing this, so I guess I have to go back the way I came. What happened was, that's impressive. I know I've seen that before. But there was these two twins that, they were like our top cross-country runners. And there was only 2 times that I ever was running directly behind them, drafting off of them, so to speak. And both times, they're the only 2 times I ever got lost running. And one of those times was here, because they would run and then they would stop and stretch for like 10 minutes, and I would just run past them and be like, I'll be fine. And that is how I got lost in here. And I seriously thought it was like an hour, like after we were supposed to be back to leave. Some of the runners, I think, had gone back down to the trail. I thought they were gonna leave without me. I wasn't a popular kid in high school. I honestly thought I might be forgotten. And then I finally came out, and I look up and I see the bus and I see Brett. And he's like, Steve! And he came running up to me and like hugged me like he thought I was dead and came back. So they didn't leave without me. That guy has the most fantastic accent I've ever heard. Anyway, so I survived. Okay. Yeah, okay. Hoo-ah. The climbing continues. It's a lot easier once you get to Pittock Mansion, though. At least that's how I remember it. I need to get my hands on some more water. I'm getting quite thirsty. Maybe I should have sucked some water up out of Balch Creek. You taste that? That's the taste of shotgun residue in your water, because you picked the wrong dad to mess with. Oh, ow, ow, ow. I didn't jam it again. I just took a step kind of a funny way. Oh my God, am I actually seeing like Portland? Kinda. Actually, I think I'm seeing the east side of the river, kinda through there. Can't see it that well, but I can see the city. Hear a little bit of it down on Cornell Road as I continue to linger along here. Aha, you tried to trick me. So you keep going that way. It's the Macleay Trail. I don't really know where that goes, unless that's the way me and my girlfriend went, which means it gets you to Pittock Mansion. But this says to Pittock Mansion, so we probably went that way. Thank you, signs. That doesn't say anything of real significance. It's down the Macleay Trail. I'm just wondering where that comes out. Oh, man. The climb continues. This last stretch is a doozy. I don't have too much more to go. I've already done a lot of the hard stuff, but I'm trying to keep from completely exhausting myself like I did the other day. I'm not a marathon runner. I'm not 20 anymore. So I'm pretty much, when it gets real steep like this, I'm walking like 100 yards, pausing, kind of get my breath, get a little more strength. I don't want to sit here too long because these are going to start cramping up. More hill climbing. I'm gonna throw up. Yeah, I'm definitely taking an elongated break at the Pittock Mansion. I don't have the time to do that anyway. Oh my God, though. It's just, it isn't ending. Like, how much higher can I climb now? Mind you, Cornell Road, now way down there, that's at a pretty high elevation as it is. So, I can't imagine that much more hill to climb. What's around this corner? Oh my God, more. I'm actually genuinely getting like a headache now from all this climbing. I saw some structure up over there. It's like looks like it might be a water tower thing. I had a little bit of a headache when I woke up. It started to fade, but this climbing brought it back. Yay. I did it. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna die. Oh, hello. Hello, Tweety bird. How you doing? Oh, wow, that's sad. Hello. Hello, bird. Excuse me, I just need to sit down. Okay, dead serious, no joke. I don't think I'm gonna finish this today. That wiped me out. I feel almost like I'm on fire. I'm fine, I'm really hot from that climb. And see, the problem is once you get to the other side of Pittock Mansion, we go straight downhill because we get to Burnside. We have to cross Burnside, which is lower elevation. And then it turns into a bunch of climbing again. And I don't have that in me. Hello. Can I help you? He doesn't know what to think about me. Where'd you go? Did you fly away? Like, I'm fine. Actually, my legs aren't that bad. It's more that I'm getting a headache and I'm getting real hot. So, yeah, like worst case scenario, I may honestly have to come out for a third day because I really want to finish this. But I don't want to end up in the hospital because I got like, I mean, it's gonna be like low 80s today, but still, I'm really hot right now. Like I'm not hot to the touch, I just feel really hot. And, you know, it's not worth it to push myself, especially since I did such a long walk just 5 days ago. It's not worth it to me to like kill myself just to say I finished it. So, I mean, I'm still dedicated to finishing this thing. I just might cut out after stopping off here at the Pittock Mansion. No matter how tired I am, I'm not skipping out on the Pittock.